Hey, welcome to On the Clock, a collaboration between the Pack-A-Day Podcast and the Draft Fellows. I'm Andrew Mertig. That is Kyle Fellows. Together we are the Draft Fellows, and leading up to the draft, we'll be doing a series that covers picks 1 through 32, each team's biggest need and who they should be considering at that pick. You can check out the video of all 32 episodes on the Draft Fellows channel on YouTube, and you can check out the audio versions on the Pack-A-Day Podcast. Up to pick 18 in the Seattle Seahawks this week, today.
Today. It is,
Today.
it is today. No matter when you're listening to this, it is
Multiple
today.
episodes per week. So today we're talking about Seattle Seahawks.
Today. We're on to Seattle pick 18. And this is a team that, I don't know that we anticipated having so much drama surrounding it going into the offseason. And it's been interesting. It's been fun to track the last couple of weeks, all the changes that they made, what to say about what Seattle has done. This is a team that has basically blown it all up on the offensive side of the ball and is kind of doing a new thing there, right? So lots of needs that existed before were added to maybe a grocery list of items that you needed to collect for the coming season with all those openings that you created, right? So after trading away DK Metcalf and moving on from Tyler Lockett, you could see them adding to the wide receiver room even after Cooper Kupp is there now, right? Is 18 too early to go to even add? I know MVS was also added to that room. So maybe they're done. Could go that direction as well. Offensive line needs some work. Charles Cross is a stud there at left tackle. The rest, though, is really bad. So they could add multiple bodies there so that Sam Darnold has a fighting chance and does not die. The Seattle Seahawks also have a decent group at defensive line and edge, especially after bringing back Jaron Reed and adding in someone like DeMarcus Lawrence in free agency. But their interior rushers are probably better than their edge rushers, right? So they could add a pass rusher as well. And then you love cornerback, Tariq Woolen, Devin Witherspoon is there. They have a really good room there, but they don't have much past those guys. So the top is good. The rest of the depth they could look to improve there. And Witherspoon played about half of his snaps in the slot last year. So they could look to add a corner that would allow him to play in a more natural spot, maybe as well. If you wanted him to have a home, maybe on the outside, or maybe they like him primarily in the slot, I think he can do both. So lots of different directions that the Seattle Seahawks could go in this draft.
Yeah, and I think Seattle would love to trade down a little bit, but and I'm going to just repeat the same thing I've said for the last 10 episodes. I don't know what the market is going to be for teams trying to move up to 19. Maybe there's somebody that a team in the mid-20s falls in love with and wants to slide up and protect themselves from getting sniped by another team, but I don't see a lot of them, a big market for Seattle to be able to move down from 19. So if they stick and pick some of the players that they might be looking at, center is a big need, but I don't see a true center in this class that would be a first round value unless you consider Gray Zabel from North Dakota State a center prospect, which is fine, but he could also fit into that guard bucket. We keep hearing maybe LSU's Will Campbell will slide a little bit. I'm not sure he'd get this far, but that could be a possibility. Kelvin Banks Jr. from from Texas. Alabama's Tyler Booker, and the aforementioned Gray Zabel. I think if you're looking edge, Mike Green from Marshall, Donovan Ezeraku from Boston College, Michael Williams from Georgia, Nick Scorton from Texas A&M, linebacker Jihad Campbell from Alabama, maybe Carson Swessinger from UCLA, if you want to keep a guy on the West Coast. Cornerbacks, you have players like Maxwell Hairston, Trey Amos, Darian Porter, Jade Barron, even like Siobhan Revel, maybe Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame. A lot of players here that could be of high interest to the Seahawks given their needs.
Yeah, so if we look at where they should actually go and who they should target in this group, I just feel like if Seattle wants to make things work on offense, they are going to need to address the offensive line early and often, probably multiple times in this draft. So this might be the ceiling for someone like Gray Zabel. You mentioned him. I do kind of like his fit as a center potential, but also we mentioned this is not Seattle has multiple needs on the offensive line. So maybe he fits the center, maybe he plays guard. It doesn't really matter where you slot him in. He's probably going to be an upgrade somewhere for you along the offensive line. But Zabel's played all over the offensive line there at North Dakota State. probably settles in that interior somewhere. I could see them going after someone like Kelvin Banks as well, someone else who has played tackle primarily in college, or I think exclusively left tackle in college, but might work best as a guard in the league. But when you need to protect Sam Darnold and you want to run the ball, as much as Seattle thinks that they want to run the ball, I think looking to the offensive line makes a ton of sense in this draft, and it might just make the rest of the chaos that they've kind of induced on offense work a little bit better in 2025.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you that offensive line makes the most sense. And if I was the GM, if I was John Schneider, I would be picking an offensive lineman too. But I do think getting a young edge rusher to train behind DeMarcus Lawrence and then take over a year or two is another really good option. So I'm going to say somebody like Mike Green from Marshall seems like a really Seahawks style selection. And then also, Jihad Campbell is someone that seems to be an ideal fit for what Mike McDonald wants to run. So you might sense a little bit of preference if it's John Schneider really making the pick for what his typical draft pedigree has been, or maybe if Mike McDonald is really clamoring for somebody in the draft. I think those are two players that could really help out this Seattle defense.
Yeah, two different directions you could go with it. Like, obviously, we feel like that this offensive line is multiple players away from being probably where they want to go. And so you're trying to get that offense up to speed. But the inverse of that is sometimes your defense can be the thing that stabilizes you while your offense is a little bit shaky. So it's, do you want to support Sam Darnold, or do you want to support Sam Darnold by giving him the defense that he needs to be successful there in Seattle? So a couple different directions that Seattle could go with it. We are a little over a month from finding out how the Seattle Seahawks will choose to address their many needs. But thanks for joining us for another round of On the Clock. Make sure you like and subscribe to the show and stick with us as we preview all 32 teams in this series leading up to the 2025 NFL Draft. From the draft room to the gridiron, the Draft Fellows have got you covered. Until next time, stay tuned and stay in the game.